I always have a soft spot for children who are not able to focus on their schoolwork because of what's happening in their families, because of what's happening to their parents. And recently, one of my students came to school before everyone else was there, and I used that as an opportunity to have some one-on-one time with him so he could practice his spelling. Now, in that moment, he began to radiate a sense of defeatedness, and I didn't personalize it. Okay, that's the first thing. For the adults watching, do not personalize someone else's insecurity. Do not personalize someone else's sense of self-defeatedness. This is really, really vital, because once you are able to take that higher place, you don't get involved in their low self-esteem or their insecurities in a way that drags you down. When we talk about missed opportunities and the grief that flows from missed opportunities, oftentimes we want to help people move through that process of grief rather quickly so that we can feel better about ourselves. But everything doesn't happen that quickly. And with children, it's the same thing. It does not happen that quickly. But one thing I do is I remind children that they are decision makers. I'm going to tell you a story. That story I started with, of the little boy walking in, and when it's time to do work, he doesn't want to do it. Okay, now this is really important, because if you're a teacher, if you are a mentor, if you're a coach, you probably have come into contact with children who don't want to do the work. And it's very easy to get involved in their low self-esteem in a way that brings you down. It's very easy to get involved in their insecurity in a way that brings you down. The first thing you want to do is that you want to remind these beautiful young people, okay, that they have a choice, that they are decision makers. Now, I have a group of 4th and 5th grade girls, and I just enjoy them. I love being around them. And they challenge me a lot, because today's kids are different from the kids I worked with just a decade ago. Okay, and so I'm making these comparisons and contrasts, and the ones that I'm working with now were just being born 10 years ago. And so it's really the spiritual beauty to recognize, like, wow, okay, the cycle continues. The cycle of life and spiraling upward continues. Spiraling outward and inward continues. So I asked the girls, who is the decision maker? Okay, and they said God and Jesus. And I said, I know, but you are a decision maker. Now, this is really important, because I've got to help these girls in our time together recognize that they play a role in the cause and the effect equation. They are the cause, oftentimes, in their interactions with each other and with their interactions with their teachers. Now, I'm not saying they're the cause of everything, but they contribute. They are a contributing factor, and they are a determining factor. And we want our young people to recognize that they have a choice, that they have a decision that they can make. Why? Because then they do not develop this sense of learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is a sign of stored up energy associated with traumatic events. Okay? And in that part of the brain that's responsible for keeping us alert and helping us to stay safe and not have to think about leaving the room, we just go and do it automatically. It's very easy for that area of the brain, the survival area of the brain, to take over, and then the child is not able to recognize their sense of agency. So with those 4th and 5th grade girls, I got to tell them, you are decision makers. Yes, God and Jesus are decision makers in your life, because you have given your life to them. Okay. Now, I tell them I'm with it. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a follower of Jesus. So I understand that, but I'm still responsible for what happens in my life. I'm going to continue to do this, reminding them that you play a role, because if you externalize the responsibility, there'll never be any for you to take. Okay? And some of them may get that, but I got to continue to put that in the activities that we do so they can understand it. Now, going back to this wonderful boy who walks into the classroom, and I'm there and he's there. I say, let's sit down. We call him Sonny. I say, Sonny, let's sit down and do some spelling. Since no one's here, I want you to have some time to practice your spelling. The reason why we're doing this is because he gets more attention for his misbehavior at home, and it's impeding his ability to develop other skill sets, to recognize other ways of his intelligence besides just misbehaving. Okay? So with this space, I want to do the what's in your control and what's out of your control, okay? And I didn't sit down and do this with him, but I want to draw out for you what I said to him and how I said and how he responded to me, so that you can have an idea of how this works in real time with our young people, and helping them to move from that sense of defeat to determination, and even deeper than that, self-defeat to self-determination, because sometimes our children defeat themselves. It's not their fault, but they defeat themselves by making the adults' inability to show up the reason why they can't succeed. Let me say that again. The children defeat themselves by holding on to the idea that they cannot succeed because the adults are not showing up in a certain way. I say, Sonny, what's going on? He has an attitude when it's time to start doing work. As the adult, the healthy, loving, respecting, mature adult, I don't get involved in the attitude. Now, sometimes I want to, and I have to just watch him because I'm regulating in that moment. But I asked him, I said, well, what's going on? I see that you're feeling some emotions. What are you feeling right now? Okay, so be curious, okay? Be clear that you're not going to get involved in certain things, because you got to be higher up as the flight engineer. We're going to take this plane over here, and then we're going to land it over here, okay? And then be curious. So what's happening? And Sonny says, I'm upset because my mom doesn't care about me. Okay, now he lives with an elder in his family, and the elder takes care of him. But his biological mom is not able to care for him because she is unhoused and she uses drugs. Okay, and we're about the same age, so my theory is that part of him is drawn to me because I'm the same age as his mom and she's absent, so he's looking for someone who can stand in for his mom. Okay, so I say, well, you know what? That's really upsetting. I emotionally validate. That's really upsetting that she's not able to show up for you like that. But here's the thing that I want you to recognize, because we cannot disable our youth by thinking, oh, poor you. You don't have a choice because everything bad happens to you. Or you're not a decision maker because you can't make any decisions. They can make decisions. I'm going to say this in all love and truth. It does not matter what is happening in their families. They can still succeed. Let's not use trauma and stress as the reason why our children can't succeed. Because the more that we do that, the more we give them the ammunition, the fuel to set themselves behind. There's a reason why. When we look at the income, who earns the most in the United States, there's a reason why Asians earn the most, then whites, then Latins, then blacks. There's a reason why. And when we can help our children move from that sense of self-defeat to a place of self-determination, they can have an expanded understanding of themselves. Okay? And this is why we want to prevent child abuse, even verbal abuse, okay? Because it impairs their self-concept. It impedes on their self-development. Okay? Now you may be saying, Ashley, how do kids defeat themselves? The parents' choices. Okay? Now this is really important. Okay? Parents' choices. Parents' ability to show up a certain way. Okay, hopefully you can see that, okay? The parent's choice is outside of the child's ability to control something. If this is their locus of control right here, their locus of influence, the parent's choices and their ability to show up a certain way is outside of the child's influence. Parents don't get off the hook because the child is not able to control what the parents are doing. The parents were adults, or maybe teenage, people having kids before the children got here. So they're not off the hook just because the children can't hold them responsible. Okay? But when we're asking children, what's going on? What is this I'm sensing from you? And they say things like, my parents don't care about me. We have to help them recognize that is over there. I know you feel it right here. And some of you may not like this approach, but that's okay. Just not like it and move on to something else. That's over there. My dad's an alcoholic. My mom's on drugs. My sister did this. My brother did that. That's over. You have to put that over there, even if you were violated in a way that is completely damaging. We have to help children understand that was out of their control. That had nothing to do with them. We want to help children to determine what they have control over. If a child is violated, abused in any type of way, that even if it's in their heart, in their stomach, in their mind, it shows up in their body. Yes, the body keeps score. It shows up in their bodies. It's still not theirs to make an excuse for why they can't succeed. It's not. And again, we want to have compassion. We want to have understanding. We want to be wise. What is wisdom? The application of knowledge and understanding. But we cannot say, well, you can't go that far because your mom is on drugs and she is unhoused and she doesn't care about you. No. We help them recognize what is in their control. And so I say, again, emotionally validate, that's really hard. But what she does is over there. I can't remember how I said it, but that's how I felt it in my body. I said it in a way he could understand. You see, your mom not being able to show up in a certain way is hard, but you still need to know how to spell. You still need to know how to read. You still need to know how to write. Okay? So knowing how to spell, how to write, how to read, regulating your emotions. This is all in the control of the child. How you talk to your friends. Okay? And I want to put in there initiating play. When children initiate play a certain way, maybe they're a little aggressive or they're a little rude or they don't know how to do it. We may label it as aggressive and rude and, but they just don't know how to do it. We still want to make that something that they can have an influence over, something they have control over, and we teach them how to do it. And so he and I are sounding out. We're doing phonics now. How do you spell snack? Okay? Snack. Okay? And that CK is kind of tricky because they go together in this one, okay? And so snack. Okay? Now you have to slow your mind down so you can hear the sounds. Snack. Okay? And because he's moving quickly. He wants to get it done. You got to slow down, because once you slow down your mind to get it done and you do it accurately, you do it correctly, then it's done. Okay? So slowing down the mind. Slowing down our minds to hear what's being said. The child can do that. We can teach them how to do that. And when he started to see the progress that he was making, I said, whose skills are these? Yours or your mom's? And he said, mine. I said, all right. See, you've got to know how to do this. I know that's hard. Her being around you and not being able to be there with you. He's grieving his mother when she's in his presence and when she's not. And she hasn't left the planet yet. She's walking around. She's doing what she does. But he's grieving her. And this is how we help children to recognize what is in their control and what is not. And as the healthy, loving, respectful, respecting, mature adults, and when I say respecting, we respect children, okay? We respect them as people. They're fully people. They're not fully developed, but they don't have to be fully developed here and in their bodies in order for us to respect them. We love them. We love them, and we want to deposit information into them that helps them to go further than we've gone as the adults. Okay? So I hope that this video helps you to think about how you help children recognize what's in their control and what's not in their control. Okay? Just as a recap, when you're working with that child who has a certain attitude when they're about to do an assignment or do a task, I sense some emotions are coming up for you. What are they? Okay? Listen, and then help them to distinguish between what is their responsibility and what is not. Mom, dad not being there, the adults not being able to show up a certain way, that is not your responsibility. Children will go to the end of the earth to get those parents to see them, to love them, and it takes a toll on how they go throughout their lives, how they seek relationships as adults, okay, because they were seeking it as a child and they didn't get it. Remind them of what's in their responsibility, their locus of influence, locus of control, and what's not, okay? And be very clear. Be very clear. Make sure that your expectation is reasonable. Now, this child, because he is very behind, a few grade levels behind, it's hard not to get like, oh my gosh, why doesn't he know this, right? But we want to have that compassion, and we want to have that understanding within ourselves and slow our reaction down so that we are able to be present with the child, not from a place of impatience or, now I do go there. I do get impatient, really, and I do get frustrated, and I do get irritated, but it takes me a little while to get there, and the kids know because I'm consistent that it's going to take me. I've done all these things before I get to that point. I just don't go there because that's not healthy, right? We want to, our well-being is not just for us, it's for everyone around us. And then as you help them to distinguish between what's in their control and what's not in their control, you maintain the proper expectation of them. Be consistent in helping them to realize what they can do. And then celebrate them along the way. Remind them who did this. Okay, even if you're standing next to them, you didn't do it. I hope you're not doing their work for them. They do their work. And then they develop the idea that I can do something. I can is not rooted in fantasy. Like the real I can is rooted in reality. So we want to help children root their confidence in real life things. Not what they imagine, even though imagination is important. It's the first most important thing, imagination. We want to help them to move towards what they imagine to be possible, towards what is possible. Okay, and having those real life expectations, those real life examples for them to dive into what the task in builds their self-confidence, because confidence comes from a sense of competence. Okay, confidence comes from a sense of competence, where when we feel like we can do something, it just boosts our confidence. Okay, now I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you again soon.